All right, right now we want to get to our Alexis Wainwright, who is live tonight in Northwest DC near 25th and I Streets in the Foggy Bottom area. And I can sort of glean what you're going to talk about, Alexis, based on what we're seeing behind you, the roots of that tree. This has been a common problem in our area, so what are you seeing right there?
Yeah, well, Lorenzo, I can tell you we've been seeing a lot more damage now that the storm has moved through. We can tell you this uprooted tree is the main thing that a lot of neighbors have been coming out to take a look at. You can see just how big this tree is. There's some damage up to the roof, but clearly this storm was that strong where it was able to uproot that tree. And we've been told by several neighbors that this isn't the only tree in this neighborhood near Foggy Bottom. We know 2 more trees further down, and then another tree was also uprooted a block over. But I have Sam here. I know you were walking or you were running through right here near this tree when this fell. Tell me what was going through your mind and what really happened.
So I was coming back from a run. I was just coming up that way, and all of a sudden it got really dark, and a lot of wind started coming through, and then everything around started snapping and cracking, and so I kind of just booked it back. And then when I turned around, the tree was there. There was a few branches that hit me while I was running from it, but it was pretty intense, not used to that kind of weather, and it was quite the scene.
And you told me that you go to school here, you're from Seattle, you're not used to something like this. What was going through your mind when you looked back and realized that the tree had just missed you?
Yeah, I was not used to it at all. It took me a little bit to kind of figure out what happened. Definitely, it was one of those really life-flashing things, because I didn't realize it at all what happened until I was 30 yards up and turned around and there was a pretty substantial tree on a house. So it was just a very interesting experience. I've been here for 2 days. I just got back, so it was pretty, nice awakening back to DC.
And for you, what goes through your mind when you come back here and now look at this tree and see all the damage that was done?
I'm mainly just thinking about the residents who live there and what they're dealing with now, because I can't imagine having to deal with all this. That is not an easy task to clean up, and especially because I know a lot of students live in this area, where if it's somebody renting, what their process and living situation now looks like going forward.
And take me through your run. You said you were already quite through a lot of the neighborhood, and then you were turning back to end your run when you got right here?
Yeah, I was down along the Potomac, and I was coming back up because it was 90 degrees. I'm not really used to that kind of heat while running. So I just got up here, and I knew it was going to rain at some point, and I just did not expect that at all. I remember very vividly it got very dark out pretty quickly, and then it was just a wind that I've really never felt before, and that's when it just got very loud. Everything started cracking. And I kind of just figured run. Wasn't sure what else to do there.
For sure. And I know you said you've been through the neighborhood. We're starting to see some more rain come down now, but you saw some other trees that were also down throughout this neighborhood?
Yeah, definitely. I've been walking around a little bit. I have friends that live down there a little bit, and then down along the Potomac, I row for George Washington, so I was looking at the boathouse a little bit. A lot of trees down in that area. When I got to the end of the street there was another down there and a lot of screaming going on. It's a pretty chaotic scene. I don't think really anybody was expecting it.
And take me through what you heard. Do you think it was lightning, thunder? What did you hear in that moment when the tree fell?
Yeah, I think it was just the wind. Where this seems like there was probably some structural issue where the roots weren't very deep, because it shouldn't pull out concrete if it falls. Where a lot of the other trees I've seen have snapped at the base, which makes sense. If there's a lot of weight on top, they'll fall. But yeah, I was mainly just kind of thinking about how it happened and figuring out what was going on.
Yeah. And my last question, I know you circled back with your friends. Did you come back to kind of show them, this is crazy, this is what I just went through?
Yeah, 'cause I was on the phone with one of my friends. I was going to go meet him for lunch. And right as the rain picked up, I said, I got to go. It's kind of starting to get bad out. And before I hung up, I started running. And so then I gave him a call when I got back, and I was like, I sent him pictures of it, that this tree just almost fell on me. So I went back to grab lunch with them and tell them about it, and then these guys wanted to see the scene of the crime as well, and look at the house and whatever happened there.
Sure. Well, thank you, Sam. I'm glad that you're okay. So again, Lorenzo, you're hearing some of the accounts from neighbors who live in this area. Many of them have seen several trees down. This isn't the only one. But we want to show you one other thing we've seen in this neighborhood. We're going to walk across the street real quick over here. Now, it looks like this car doesn't have any damage, but if you take a closer look at the sunroof here, you can tell that it was blown out. There's actually a tree branch, if you take a closer look, that is inside the vehicle. So this just shows, again, how much damage we're seeing throughout this neighborhood. We talked with several other neighbors who are just getting back home after that storm moved through. A lot of them are in shock and still trying to figure out what exactly happened here. But again, what we know right now is that this tree was uprooted and fell on top of this house, but there are also several other trees, at least 3 or 4, and the cleanup process is obviously going to be quite long. But neighbors are just glad to hear that most people are okay, but they're still just trying to check in to make sure everyone is good after this storm moved through. So again, we'll stick here and try to figure out much more, but for now, reporting live in Northwest, Alexis Wainwright, will send it back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to have you scoot out of the way a little bit, Alexis, because I'm worried about your safety with a lot of those cars and trucks going through. But I have a question for you. Do we know if any crews have been by to sort of block off this street, block off that tree? Because I noticed a lot of folks walking out into the street to get around that tree and the sidewalk there. That's a big hazard.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen any street closures or any crews out here just yet. Now, again, we just spoke with Sam, who says that he's been seeing trees down throughout his entire run in this neighborhood. So maybe they're slowly making their way to this street on 25th Street, but we haven't seen crews blocking it off. In fact, we've been seeing a lot of neighbors coming out here with their cell phones to take pictures and videos and get a closer look at the damage done here. So it might be some time until we see crews really move through here, because we know there is much more damage further up in the neighborhood before you get to this street. But obviously a lot of people still concerned and curious how exactly the cleanup process will work for this tree here.
Okay, I'm looking at some of the porch lights in that neighborhood as well. It looks like the folks have power, which is a bright spot there. You know, thousands of people in D.C., Montgomery and Prince George's counties are without power tonight. Pepco's working to get the lights back on for those folks. All right, Alexis, you stay safe. Thank you.